I'd like to call the meeting to order of the Board of Leavenworth County Commissioners. I'd like to invite everyone to stand for the pledge. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. I'd like to start with a moment of silence.
Wanted to add, Doug, have everybody say an extra prayer for Mayor Bobby Watkins. I was at City Council meeting last night, and he's resigned for health reasons. So
That's too bad. Okay. Yep, remember him in your prayers. Okay, roll call. We'll start with Commissioner Stevens. Here. Commissioner Shimke.
Here.
Commissioner Smith is present. Commissioner KAAZ.
Present.
Commissioner Culberson.
here.
All commissioners are present. I'd like to open up the public comment portion of our meeting. Anyone from the public wishing to speak, please come forward and state your name.
Good morning, Commissioners. As I've got the pleasure to meet most of you, my name is Sonia Murphy. I am the 4-H agent in youth development for Leavenworth County. I just want to take a few minutes of your time. October 1st kicked off our 4-H enrollment year for 2019-2020. And we start that kickoff with National 4-H Week, which began this past Sunday with 4-H Sunday. And so I want to take a few minutes to thank you for your support for not only Extension, but also for this 4-H Youth Development Program. You know, we are working hard to help youth gain life skills, leadership, citizenship, and we believe we are developing the leaders, tomorrow's leaders for this community. So again, I just wanted to take a few minutes, kind of make everybody aware that it's National 4-H Week. We're kicking off our 4-H year, and to thank you for your support. So, Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Next year, when October rolls around, I guess, would you provide us with a proclamation on that or something?
I would love to do that, absolutely.
Okay. All right, thank you.
Yep.
Anyone else from the public wishing to speak? Seeing none, we'll close public comment and move on to administrative business. Any administrative business other than our proclamation?
Just a proclamation today.
Okay.
You want to thank the, I want to take the opportunity to thank the employees of Leavenworth County for the awesome participation in the United Way kickoff last Friday, and to the members of the safety committee for all of the work that they put into putting the event together. I think those who were able to attend had a really nice time. Thank you to Mark and Aaron for manning the grills and making sure that everybody was fed. So that's just thank you.
I would point out that at no point in time was my grill in threat of burning down the shelter, but I cannot say that about Aaron's grill.
Is that why the fire department was here?
And we have a couple of really strong leaders in the Ice Bucket Challenge. Mr. Lothery.
Vince.
And Vince.
Top three, though.
We could stretch that to 4 if you fall into 4th place. Vince.
So thanks again, I really appreciate it. And the whole, everything goes through to the end of the month.
Okay. All right, well, October is Breast Cancer Awareness Month, and we have a proclamation by the Board of Leavenworth County Commissioners. To all citizens in Leavenworth County, greetings. Whereas it is one of the responsibilities of the County Commission of Leavenworth to recognize occasions of outstanding significance. Whereas about 1 in 8 U.S. women will develop invasive breast cancer over the course of their lifetime. Whereas in 2019, an estimated 268,600 new cases of invasive breast cancer are expected to be diagnosed in women in the United States. Whereas 2,670 new cases of invasive breast cancer are expected to be diagnosed in men in 2019. A man's lifetime risk of breast cancer is about 1 in 1,000. Whereas for women in the U.S., breast cancer death rates are higher than those of any other cancer besides lung cancer. Whereas education regarding breast cancer and early detection strategies are critical to saving lives and preserving and protecting our families. Now therefore, I, Doug Smith, Chairman of the Leavenworth County Commission, do hereby proclaim the month of October 2019 as Breast Cancer Awareness Month, and encourage all citizens and individuals to raise awareness and support research for breast cancer. In witness whereof I have hereunto set my hand and affixed the seal of Leavenworth County to this 9th day of October 2019. Encourage anyone that has family members or friends to make sure they get checked out, and encourage all of our employees to do our health assessments also. So, anything to add to that, Commissioners? Okay.
Thank you.
Thanks, Brother.
All right. Then we'll move on to Public Works. Hate to keep a crowd like that.
Yep. You want to do the consent agenda? Or
Oh,
approve it?
Has Commissioners had a chance to look at the consent agenda? Is there any questions or concerns?
I'll make a motion that we accept the consent agenda as presented.
Second.
Motion is second. Any further discussion on the consent agenda? Voting?
Aye.
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 Now we'll move on to Public Works. Who's taking the lead on this?
I think,
Is correct?
yeah, I think Chris is up first.
Good morning, Commissioners. Chris Collins, Public Works Fleet. Coming to request approval to dispose of some surplus equipment. Seeking approval to sell this equipment on Purple Wave. We have a couple pickups that we are seeking to get rid of. An old broom tractor, a gooseneck trailer that was used to haul some equipment that was built in-house, an old dump truck, a front-end loader, 2 obsolete scrapers that we hadn't used within the past couple of years, so we're seeking to get rid of those. They were used when we were in the processes of building roads, and we've gotten out of that lately, so we're seeking to get rid of those. A flatbed trailer, a gooseneck trailer, an old Bobcat that we've replaced, and 2 scrapers, as well as just some equipment that's been non-running chainsaws for the weed department, pull saws, circular saws, some file cabinets, as well as some parts, some obsolete excavator buckets that fit equipment we no longer have, and then a sign truck auger and a 3-point harrow. The sign truck auger is off of a old sign truck that we've also replaced at the moment.
Your one scraper's a 1987, I think, not a 1981.
Okay.
And then, I don't know how many hour meters have been put in them.
Yeah,
Pieces
the
of
one,
equipment.
yeah, it's got paint markings for hours. It was replaced at this time, and then a new hour meter put in it, so yeah, that,
The 1973 one, it was old and wore out when I got there.
yes, sir.
And it's got a lot of hours on it. Commissioners have any questions on the surplus equipment?
On the gooseneck trailer, is that a homemade trailer? We built that trailer?
We built that in-house, yes, sir.
So when we sell that, do we have a title to it, or are we just going to do a
We
bill of
do, it was
sale, or-
inspected and does have a title
Okay.
with it.
Okay.
Yeah, and I had previously spoke with a representative from Purple Wave, asked if there would be any issues with that, and he said
Okay.
that there wouldn't be any issues selling it, so.
Okay.
Yeah, I mean, my only question was, we were selling a gooseneck trailer. At the same time, we're acquiring a new gooseneck trailer. So I just wanted to make sure I understood the premise.
Correct, yeah. The next one was seeking approval to replace that trailer with a new trailer purchased from a local dealership out on 7 Highway.
We have just aged out.
That, and I think it was coming to liability issues with the trailer being built in-house
Right.
and ratings of it. So trying to remove ourselves from any liability issues if they were to come about with that trailer, so.
So that's the only piece on the list that we're actually like replacing or upgrading, the rest is just
The
liquidating?
others have already been replaced,
Okay.
yes, sir. The broom tractor that we're getting rid of, we have budgeted for next year. We'd known that it was having mechanical issues, and we were trying to make it last, but it ended up having a major engine failure, so we're just seeking to get rid of it. And then in next year's budget, we're planning to try and replace that broom tractor.
Gotcha.
They rent one too also every year, so. Yep. So any other questions on any of this surplus equipment? Purple Wave seems to always get a good price out of this equipment. Sometimes I feel kind of guilty for what we're selling and what they're paying for that. But anyway, so I'll entertain a motion to approve the disposal of the surplus equipment.
So moved.
Second.
Have a motion and a second. Any further discussion on the surplus equipment? And voting?
Aye.
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 Thank you, Chris. And we need to approve the new gooseneck?
Yeah. Had gotten quotes for a trailer that was on Sourcewell purchasing contract. I said I'd also spoke with Austin Trailer Sales, was able to get a quote for a heavier capacity trailer at a cheaper price. My recommendation would be to purchase this trailer. The cost of it was $11,595.
It's about as close as you're gonna get to local if they just move across the street.
Yes, sir.
You know.
I said that was the only downside I saw.
And that is, but, and the upside is, it's also, if there's any warranty or anything, or any parts you need to get, you just run over there to get them.
Sure. No, they do a great job.
No, they do a good job. Just wish they were on the other side of the street. So I'll entertain a motion to approve the purchase of a new trailer from Austin Trailer Sales.
I'll make a motion to approve the replacement for one new trailer through Austin Trailer Sales in the amount of $11,595.
Have a motion and a second. Any further discussion on the purchase of the new trailer? Voting.
Aye.
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 All right, so additionally, while we're up here, we've got our quarterly report. I know everyone else presented, I believe, last month. A few of us have been out of the office, so I appreciate you guys letting us come in a little bit later. So we'll start with the county shop. Vince, you want to give them an update?
Morning, Commissioners.
Morning.
Morning.
County shop has been busy this year. Like I said, we had the Linwood tornado cleanup. Took us, probably about a month, and we pretty much had it handled by then. We're still doing little odds and ends. There's still a lot of damaged trees and stuff that are still falling. We have to go back and take care of. And other than that, we were into the chip seal and asphalt season. Asphalt patching, we've patched somewhere in the area of 25 miles of asphalt patching. Like I said, there was a lot of damage from this last winter here, so, you know, we used up a lot of money in asphalt this year. But I think we're in good shape where we'll get through this winter, and I think, you know, hopefully it'll hold up till the next season of patching. We're coming to the end of it now. The temperature's starting to fall out on us in the mornings now, so hopefully in the next week we'll have everything that we projected sealed and patched. We'll have it done here in the next few days. Of course, end of this week is supposed to rain, so we're pretty much done, but I think we'll probably finish up what we need to get done next week. Chip sealing, we did manage to get about 60 miles, which we really had to hit it hard. I mean, when we could do it, we were on it. So I really didn't think we were going to get that much done, but we did get that much done. So didn't have very many breakdowns, and you know, when the weather did cooperate, we were, like I said, 4 10-hour days, we can get rid of quite a bit of oil and seal. Did have problems getting hay dye this year. I don't know, plants having problems. They're revamping things, but they never did get back to full capacity. And I think there's a lot of other entities that they're selling to, so there's kind of a competition. That's going to have to be something we're going to have to look into. I don't know, a different type of aggregate maybe we could get to, or I don't know, but some of the roads we had to turn back to limestone because that's all we had, but they did need to be sealed. Dust abatement roads, we are working on them. I know they're on hold for, to be sealed, but we are working ditches, trying to prepare them for the next year. So that's what we'll have a crew. That's all they'll be doing all season, is working on them, trying to get the ditches straightened up, all the patching done. The mowing, we've done 2 rounds so far in the county, and we will mow clear into, snow season. As long as we can mow, we'll mow, until the weeds and everything die. So we've had problems there. We had one tractor that was destroyed, so it kind of took us down, and we're having problems getting, some summer help too, so we're not getting the people that, we'd like to. So it's been it's been tough trying to keep up. It's been a wet season, so it has been tough trying to keep up on mowing, but we're getting it done. We're just, when we can have the other shop personnel come and help us out, they're helping us out. All in all, I think, like I said, it's been a pretty tough year with the weather and tornadoes and just material, but I think we've accomplished a pretty good job. I think the crews have done a good
Yes,
job.
you
Oh,
have.
yeah,
Absolutely.
On your hay dye, what months will you be able to get it, you think?
But
They shut down in November, don't they, usually for
Exactly.
maintenance?
Yeah. So I was going to talk to Cheryl and see, what we could do. I pre-ordered last year, used some money at the end of the year, and I didn't wind up getting hardly any of that until the sealing season was about upon us. So I did finally get that all hauled in. So
Okay.
I don't know, Commissioner, I don't know.
Would it help if we hired the delivery of it?
It's just that you can't get it.
Yeah, but I
You're just
thought.
getting a truck here and
I
there.
thought maybe if they had a trucking company that was employed by them, that, you might be able to get it. If we had it
We can
delivered.
try that.
I don't know what the cost would be. Hay dye's pretty expensive anyways, but.
But I know
Your guys are kind of, by the time you go up there and haul it,
Yeah.
you're taking quite a bit away from our roads.
Exactly.
Vince, how many places do we source that?
There's
There's
only
There's
one
only one,
place.
right.
In the Midwest, that's the only place up
Right.
in New Market, Missouri.
Well, you go to Colorado, I think.
Colorado, Minnesota, and maybe somewhere in Iowa. But the only plant here, there used to be one where it's down there in, what was that?
Ottawa.
Yeah, Ottawa.
Ottawa, they
used to, but they
shut
shut
that
it
down
down.
years ago.
EPA pretty much shut it down. And then there was one out in western Kansas, and they shut it down. So the only place we have, KDOT, MoDOT, everybody takes out of New Market, Missouri.
Yeah, they shut the one down out west too.
So that's becoming a concern.
Marquette, Kansas.
Yeah, Marquette, that's exactly right. So, haydite, I like haydite, but we're just
So do
not
the
able
people
to
that
get
drive
it.
on it.
Yeah, exactly. We're just not able to get it like we were, and I don't know if it's just the demand has became such that all these other entities are using it and they just can't keep up, it sounds like.
KDOT uses it, MoDOT uses it.
Nebraska,
Yeah.
Nebraska uses it. Everybody's coming to this plant.
Vince, I just had a couple questions, and I will reiterate how the amazing work that you guys did, especially against the obstacles this year. You have this. You were talking about the 60 miles, so 85 or 90 is typically what we're targeting.
That's what we try to get.
And then, again, knowing that's, the weather has to cooperate, and knowing the schedule of 410s, I'm just curious, you can't plan for the weather, but how does one try to accommodate when we would typically shut down on, say, a Friday? Because I know there's a cycle where we're, it's a balancing act, right, between, lining up the work for next week and getting the trucks cleaned up from the work they did this week. And so I was just curious, is there a way, one, that we can look at that schedule slightly differently in the way we're doing 410s that might allow us to accomplish more when the weather isn't cooperating?
Well, yeah, I believe, yeah, sure we can.
And then the other one was, what have we typically done in the past in the way of, overtime for those that are interested, knowing that, again, we can only work when the weather cooperates, so that puts us at a major disadvantage, so.
Well, I think if it gets to that point, you just redo your schedule. This is what we're gonna do,
Okay.
But when it rains, they've got plenty to do also.
Sure. Yeah, I realize they're not
They're
without-
not just sitting there.
Yeah, we
They're
just
out.
jump back to the
They just
gravel
jump back
roads.
to the old maintenance schedule.
Right.
Because that's like I said, Commissioner Smith's right. When it rains, we go back because
You got
when we're
another
chip
set of-
sealing and asphalt patching, all personnel, that's what they're doing.
Sure.
So the roads don't get the maintenance, it's when we can get to them.
Right.
It slows down. Just because the personnel, it takes all of our personnel to chip seal and asphalt patch. And the asphalt patching, we like to have, it's nice to have a couple of weeks that the patches will set and kind of cure, and then we can seal over them, so, so it's kind of a process. But, foul weather, there's always plenty to do. I mean,
Sure.
road maintenance, it doesn't go away. It's just a vicious cycle. So when there's a chance, we jump right back to it.
It's just vicious, it's not a cycle.
That's true.
Is your org chart full? You got all, other than your part-time?
I do have one. We had a sewer employee. He went over to buildings and grounds. And the only reason why that was done is because it was taken away. He was part-time on the heavy crew, part-time sewer crew. So I needed a person, there all the time because that takes away. It's a small crew anyway. So when it takes away, he has to do the sewer part. So finally, we come to the point where, either you're gonna have to stay here or there. Well, he's the only one that has the sewer license and does all the sewers. He knows it. So he went to the buildings and grounds. So I do have, I don't know, Mark, is that a position that's going to be open or
To refill that
to
one?
refill that one?
Yeah, we discussed that. And
Okay.
I think it's-
So I think pretty much all my positions are full except for that one now on the heavy crew. And I do have a couple employees I have one that's retiring the 1st of November, and then another one's retiring in December, supervisor retiring in December 17th, so.
Okay.
And I
So
hope
you're
to-
gonna have to,
And if you have those announced as retirements, you can begin the process to fill those too.
Okay.
And Vince, the other question I had was on the dust abatement update. It seemed like earlier on there was some confusion about, projects, timing, obviously the work that you guys have to do in preparation for the contractors to come in. And has that all been, cleared up? And do we feel good that all
Yes.
of the shaping and pre-work that needs to be completed will be done so that the 12-plus miles we committed to this year that we're not going to get done are ready to go, as ready as they can be in
Yes.
early 2020?
Yes, but like I said, I've been communicating with Lauren here, and she's given me all,
Yeah, there obviously, as we all know, had been some miscommunications early on in this as to what their responsibilities were on this. We have taken hold of that. We've gotten it under control. They're currently working on Group 3. We have had discussions. They know that they will be moving on to Group 2 and 7 after that to get those addressed, and then immediately move on to Group 4 and 5 in hopes to tackle our 2020 projects on time this year.
Great.
So we're out there trying to identify all the culverts, crossroad culverts that need to be replaced, it's driveway culverts, so we can come back and get them later. We just want to get all the crossroad culverts. Of course, utilities have been kind of a pain, but trying to work through it and, get them done.
Feel free to relocate what you want, Vince.
So just to reiterate, you're saying that you do believe we'll be able to stay on.
We are hopeful, yes. That, of course, will also depend upon utility locates and relocates for the additional 2020 groups 4 and 5. But we are currently planning to have all of it completed in 2020.
And-
That is
and
the hopes.
Mark, did you meet with AT&T or? this-
Yes.
How did that
Yeah,
meeting go?
we did have a meeting with our AT&T representative on that. They felt like 120 days from the notice to proceed was realistic, and on the outside, they thought 150 days because there's so many miles, but they're going to handle them as separate projects, just like we're handling them as separate projects, so it won't be one company doing all the work. There could be 2 to 3 companies who engage to do the work,
For each group or whatever.
per group.
Yeah, per
Yep.
group.
And what date does the day start?
Well, it started, and we're,
Yes.
What was the day, so we can keep track
Off
of
the
it?
top of my head, I unfortunately do not remember the
Last week.
exact
It was
date. It
last
was
week,
sometime last
Thursday.
week.
Last
We'll
week.
just say the 1st of October then.
April,
Yeah.
what they said is, April is the realistic timeline to have it all done.
April
Oh, I
1st.
cannot wait for that April meeting.
April 1st.
Was it the end of
It
April?
is not. the end
I
of
believe
April.
they said, I believe they were
It is
hopeful
so
end
not
of
gonna
March.
happen
He
in
said
April.
Yeah.
he was quite comfortable saying the end of April, but he was hoping the end of
It'd
March.
be like me
And I-
telling Vince it's not gonna snow this winter.
Well, they bid all the work out. They bid out the design work, they bid out the construction work. And they have approved contractors already on. So it's not like a 30-day process like we have to go through, or maybe longer. They just put it out, and within a day, somebody says, yeah, we'll do it type thing. So first, the design has to be done. As soon as the design is done, they'll put the design out to their contractor to get crews out there to start doing the work.
And have we heard back from the 2019 projects contractors, whether or not they're going to be honoring those prices?
So we have heard from one, we're waiting to hear from another one, and we'll bring that to you once we get it all put together.
Because we hadn't secured contractors or bids yet on the 2020 projects, correct?
Correct, yeah,
Correct.
those
have
aren't
not
even designed.
Yeah, the design is not complete on those. We still have additional utility things to.
And is Olson designing, we're trying to set a policy for where the utility lines in the future going forward are going to be located and all the requirements that we're going to put in place?
I believe we've had conversations about how to go about that. I don't think we quite yet have an exact hammered out
They're
plan
gonna
of
be-
attack, but yes.
They're gonna provide us with an
Well,
estimate to
Schlegel's
do that
doing
work.
that
For
work,
the
Olson's
dust
gonna be
abatements, yes, but in
reviewing.
general.
A right-of-way
Okay.
policy, the right-of-way access policy is what we're talking about, and reviewing what we have and fixing it, addressing some of the things like when the utilities locate. Now, I will tell you, when we met with AT&T, their policy now is 1 foot inside the back of the right-of-way. So they are relocating their lines as close to the edge of the right-of-way as they can, so they don't have to move them in the future, because they don't want to move them either.
Sure.
And when, he did say that some of those lines
Very old.
could have been in there since
Truman?
I want to say he said 50s.
Yeah, I think very
I
old.
think he threw out the number in
Then
the
they need to be
50s, some of
replaced
them.
anyways.
And,
Yeah,
and
they are
70s
listed.
for what was probably some of the newest ones, but.
Well, I
so
went,
It's going to get moved
And part of the problem is, I mean, it sounds like they don't know what they have as oftentimes as we're curious, not only in the locations, but even the type of line that it might be. I mean, again,
They know
there's been
that-
people asking about
I think they know
upgrading.
yeah.
Right.
I think they know the type of line, but they don't know the location, because the contractors back then were, probably, they just said, run 25 miles of line, and then they hooked the ends to whatever they had as equipment. So they don't necessarily know exactly where it is either until something like this
Something to
comes
find
up.
And then I was going to ask about the 2020 projects. Do we have a schedule yet in regards to when the design will be complete? I mean, in my mind, we'd want to be going out to contractors to
January?
bid as soon as possible. Like, it doesn't,
Well, they'll finish the design, then we'll do, one of the things that we've changed, obviously, is the utility. So they'll do the design.
as then we're accounting for them.
They were not.
They will-
Well,
they
they
will
were
be accounting
engaged
for
to
them.
do that.
Right.
They are now.
I will be bringing that before you, as a matter of fact, probably next week, to approve their extension of their contract to do the utility.
so then we can get another 120 start date about December.
Well, the good thing is that as they finish those relocations, we don't have to have them all done the day that our contractor moves on to the job. There just needs to be a coordination so that they're done,
We're
enough
not grips
are,
and sequence, right?
enough are done, and that's what's happening right now.
Okay.
I was down the other day Loring Road, east of 24, there's a fiber box right in where the ditch should go. And the people mow their yard real good. I'm thinking, if you ever have to ditch that, you've got a problem.
Yeah, I know what you're talking about.
And it's a fiber optic, and they put a box closure right there. And there's all over that, but this one here is very noticeable because they mow the yard around it.
I know what you're talking about.
And then there's several, got a list of them if you want.
I just hope going forward that,
I don't know how you guys don't get them when you snow removal
Well.
and stuff.
they grade them up all the time in the middle of the road. I mean, they'll be in the road that,
I'm talking about a fiber box.
Oh, the box,
The box
yeah.
itself. Yeah.
not yet.
But if they ever get over too far, they're gonna get it.
They get plenty of mailboxes, but.
Yeah. Yeah.
Other than that, we're starting to get our snow and ice equipment looked at. Got a new calcium chloride tank. The other one sprung a leak earlier this fall, but it's a 10,000 gallon. We just filled it up yesterday.
Mhm.
All my salt sand bunkers are full. I'm waiting on to have it. I've had salt ordered for 3 months.
Oh, I
and
forgot to get you that number.
haven't got a grain of it yet, so I don't know what the deal is, but I've got about half a bunker down there and the quarry down there, Tonganoxie, and our dome's probably about a quarter full, so hopefully that'll be coming in here soon, because
Well, I'm
we
sure
got
as soon
last
as all
year's
the
stuff.
asphalt hauling and construction gets done, they'll
Yeah.
be doing other stuff. You'll get it.
So that's where, like I said, that's where we're,
Might be 2 o'clock in the morning, but you'll get
well,
it.
that's fine. I mean, I can open the gate, that's fine. Other than that, that's where we're at now. We're starting to think about snow and ice now, so. Other than that, that's where we're at.
Thank you,
Thank you.
Yeah,
your
absolutely.
department, for especially all your work during the tornado. It was very much appreciated.
That's what put them behind too,
Yeah.
because the weather was good during the tornado cleanup.
Well, you know how often, or how seldom it is to get positive feedback, and the feedback was just absolutely incredible.
Right.
So,
That's
very well
good.
done.
Yep.
Yeah, I just wanted to reiterate that too, Vince, that, for every butt chewing you get, you have 10 attaboys that you don't hear. So
Right.
I just want to make sure you know that we really appreciate the maintenance that you guys are doing on the roads. And I want, and especially in contrast to the tornadoes and the floods, keeping on top of the maintenance of the roads. And I just want to encourage anybody that complains about the roads in Leavenworth County to take a little day trip to any of the border roads. And you don't even need to see the county sign saying you've changed counties.
Absolutely.
You can definitely tell by the road. You better not have your tongue hanging out or a lid on your cup.
Our guys
once you
do a great
transfer into a
job.
different county.
Nope.
So you can definitely tell the difference. We
Pass
really
it on.
appreciate that.
Thank you.
One fleet, Chris?
We've been handling repairs, preventative maintenance to majority of the county's departments, the vehicles within the county. Have a list there of the departments we work on. We, additional to normal maintenance, at the beginning of the quarter, we were still setting up vehicles for patrol for the sheriff's department, installing all lights, equipment necessary to that. We've since moved on, currently setting up 2 trucks for our department and 1 for the surveyor that just came in this quarter, that were purchased off of the state contract. Currently, we have a semi-trailer, a new belly dump trailer ordered. We were expecting it to be in this last week. They've moved it back. They're expecting next week as the delivery date for that trailer. We've had a couple accidents in the county, one involving a broom tractor that was hit by a truck from out on the road while they were mowing. Working currently with the insurance company to try and resolve a valuation on that tractor. I'm not sure the valuation they gave us, if they were allowing for the mowers that were also attached to the tractor. I think they were just appraising the tractor by itself, knowing the accident and the damage that appeared. I'm gonna assume that there was probably some twisted parts associated with those mowers, and they were going to look into what we can resolve there.
Chris, do they send out an adjuster that's thinking they're gonna look at like an F-150 and then get there and go, uh-oh?
They did. I wasn't there when he was out, but I did notice, looking at the claim, where they were kind of going to look for labor costs. They were going to heavy truck sites to try and find labor times for repairs on a tractor.
Who is a Heritage tractor, right? It's from Heritage.
Yeah, it was originally
And then
purchased.
what kind of mower? Was it Tiger?
It was Diamond mowers on it.
Diamond mower? Why would one of them be able to give you an estimate?
Yeah, I'm currently working with, and actually Heritage have reached out to them. They have not reached back. I contacted the
You'd
dealer.
think they would be able to tell you whether it's totaled or
Yeah,
not.
the Diamond, the John Deere dealer in Topeka is a Diamond representative.
Oh,
They
okay.
they handle normally yellow iron, but he said being that we are attaching it to the Diamond mower to the tractor, that they can supply the tractor also. So currently waiting on evaluation of what a current replacement would be for that tractor, so.
Okay. But will they come up and give you an estimate or look at it and tell you whether it's sprung, needs replaced?
We haven't gotten to that far yet, just waiting to hear back what the insurance company is going to say as far as adjustments for the actual mowers themselves. But yeah, we could definitely contact them and see if they would come up and take a look at the equipment also.
Hate to see you have to strip that and attach it to a new tractor after it's been in an accident.
That was where the issue I had seen was the attachment point to the frame was shifted and had busted off mounting bolts. I mean, it had been pushed far enough forward that it busted the mounting bolts out of the frame, so.
It would have been a little before it sheared them.
Yeah, it sheared the bolts off that mounted to the frame of the tractor, so that's what I told them. If we try to attach this to a tractor, you know,
May have some
what's not
washers.
gonna line
Have
up.
to shim it up, huh?
Correct. Also, as we spoke before, we had a broom tractor, had mechanical failure, and then there was also 2 appraisers' vehicles that were in an accident at the shop that were deemed out of commission. Have been working with the administrator on looking into fueling cards for the county to be used. We are going to set up a meeting with some of the department heads to talk about that. Agencies that don't use our fueling out at the shop, we get our fuel from co-op. They're moving to a different location. Going to be harder for all of our agencies to be able to make it to their location. Have looked at the one that looks like it is probably going to be the best option would be WEX, was formerly Right Express. They are on state contract. They offer the largest discount, as well as are available to be used at 99% of the fueling stations in the area. So I've also been working, looking into possible GPS options for agencies within the county as well as ours. We currently have 2 departments that are using the Fleet Complete modules. We're looking at cost to see what it would take to upfit the rest of the county's fleet with these modules.
So where did you say the fuel is going to come from? Or
Currently, we purchase our fuel from
Right.
co-op, and
Right.
I know we have a lot of agencies that are going to co-op out there at their pump, at the gas station, and being that they're going to be moving farther out, and currently, after their transition, they won't have pumps available at that site for a while, so.
So everybody's going to fill at the shop, or you got another location?
No, that's what the fueling cards
They're gonna
were.
use cards.
It's a
Okay.
fuel
It's a
card that
card.
they can
Okay.
use. Yeah,
It's a
it's
card. It's not a
just
phone.
a
Right.
credit card that can be used for fuel at any
It'll-
location.
All right. At any location?
Multiple
Correct.
All right.
locations. Right.
Okay.
But I assume, I mean, what's our rate per gallon when we buy volume at the shop versus what you'd pay it, to your point?
It fluctuates price-wise, but our discount, we're usually in the 35% per gallon off of, by the time taxes and then governmental discounts are taken out. We're usually in that range per gallon, cheaper than at pump price.
The damaged vehicles, they're just going to be for salvaged or?
Yeah, one has been picked up by a salvage yard already,
Okay.
Insurance, and the other one is waiting to be picked up.
Okay. Who would the senior county counselor be able to help them on that tractor insurance adjustment? Are you working with them?
Yeah, I've
Okay.
been in contact with the administrator and Mr. Van Paris
Okay.
about these issues, so.
Yeah, because sometimes that's what you got to do. Anyways. Anything else, Mr. Collins?
No, sir.
Commissioners have any more? Okay.
Oh, Chris, I did have one last thing. I was just curious. The sheriff's office and then the council on aging, I think the council on aging maybe came back to us this year. Is that all going well as far as capacity and
Yes, sir.
turnaround times and all that?
Yes, sir.
Okay.
We've had a couple vehicles that have had some issues, kind of came to us where we can tell they had been other places before us trying to repair some issues. We've had a couple, but other than that, couple headaches. No, everything's been great. So we've been, when I have the opportunity, I have guys available to try and pick up and drop off the vehicles when needed. So we've been able to just kind of rotate. A lot of times we can just, when we're dropping one off, we're just grabbing another one when we drop it off. So, but yeah, things have been going well.
Good deal.
Okay. I guess when we do our CIP, we need to know whether you want to shop here in town. If there's an available one. All right. Any other questions? All right. Thank you, Chris.
Thank you.
Thanks, guys.
Thanks, guys.
Thank you.
Tell everybody we appreciate everything they do.
Will do.
Thank you, Commissioners. So to round out the county shop work, our noxious weed department is doing their typical chemical and weed control. I don't have much update from them. But to kick off my office in here, we'll start with some of the sales tax projects. 147th Street, we are working on a final punch list. It is in progress. I have been in communications with King's Construction on the last few items that they have to do. We are just waiting for their asphalt guy to get back with them and schedule when they're going to get those final items off the list. Year to date, we've only spent, $556,000. Project to date is just over $7.8 million. On to McIntyre, we are cruising along there. We are getting close to hopefully kind of a final walkthrough on that as well. We've got some driveway issues that we're wrapping up, but other than that, it's coming along quite nicely. Project to date is just over $4 million. Year to date, 1.1. We have just recently received another payout from them, so it'll be a little bit higher within the next week or so.
Lauren, you want to touch base on like some of the driveway issues, the
Absolutely.
change in the design impact?
Absolutely, yeah. So as I said, we've got some driveway issues that we have been running into. Several, I don't know the full history as to why it happened or when it happened, but during the design process, we moved from a higher speed to I believe it's 35 mile an hour now. When that happened, there were some issues with driveway locations, where they could access, where they used to access. So some of the driveways are either now in ditches or in locations that they can no longer access both sides of their property. So I have several properties where I'm needing to add an additional access point because they can't get across a creek, or an additional one because we did a realignment on 127th Street. We've got several farmers that need wider entrances than they originally had because of where we had to put the access point off the roadway. So we're running into several things like that, and we're trying to get all those loose ends tied up. But other than that.
Will that be a change order, or is it something our guys are gonna fix?
We do have a force account built into this project with, I believe, about $110,000 that we plan to use that money from, but yes, it would come across in additional funds.
Okay.
If we exceed the force account, then we'd have to come back to the board for additional authority, but right now, we believe we'll be able to stay within that force account.
Okay.
Or I was actually going to ask, the relocation of the, where 127th terminates at McIntyre, that was moved mainly because of the distance to maybe the hill or visibility?
I believe it was moved due to the alignment of 126th Street. They were just barely staggered, and so to create a four-way intersection instead of two three-way intersections very close to each other, I believe that was the reasoning for the relocation and the
Okay.
realignment.
Well, I don't know what the additional cost was, and although that's all very logical, that cross-section, it's a dead end. It's not a through road, so.
126th.
Once you get south of McIntyre.
Subdivision?
It's a subdivision.
Yes, so that 126 was not relocated, and that is why, because it is that dead end. But 127th continues on, so
Okay.
it.
And then the other thing I was just going to request, maybe in these updates, maybe we can also put a original estimate or budgeted amount.
Absolutely.
Rather than cost to date and year to date, just also where the project started.
I'll make sure to include that in the next time.
Thank you.
So Eisenhower, we are working through utility relocations. All that we have left are an agreement with Magellan, the gas line, and the two water lines that run through there, both Leavenworth Water and Rural Water 8. I will be bringing an agreement to you hopefully soon, where Wilson will be redesigning the Rural Water 8, and we are working towards redesigning in general to reduce the relocations of Leavenworth Water, in hopes that both speeds up the project and cuts the price.
When are we looking in to go out for bid on Eisenhower? Just a ballpark?
I can't say that off the top of my head. I would have to look into that a little bit more. I think it will depend upon these relocation efforts. Go ahead.
Well, this is probably more for Mark or maybe for you, Lauren. My question is on leveraging Olson the way that we have the relationship now and creating a new policy for utility relocations. Could we maybe engage with them on an easement acquisition policy as well? Because I think there were, again, a number of reasons why any project can be delayed, one of which with Eisenhower was also easements. And knowing there was some big disparities between different easements, I'd like to see a policy that we can stand behind that might be easier to defend why, one property owner received X and another property owner received Y.
Yeah, I can definitely talk to Olson.
And I
as we
realize
do that, as that
there's
can be part of
uniquenesses
the-
of property as far as
Sure.
things like trees and everything else, but I think we can take a much more systematic approach.
Fences is a big thing.
And, yeah,
I will tell you, one of the things that, with having Olson on staff, they reviewed the Eisenhower design and the Leavenworth Water utility relocation. They have a very large line out there, so the cost was going to be significant. And Olson reviewed it, and they believe they've come up with a way that they can avoid the relocation, which was estimated around $500,000 just through some additional design work. So that paid off very well, I think, and was a good catch on their part. And it will also speed up the project because of the size of the line and that it's their only line feeding that area. It was going to take some really crazy coordination. So, but I will say that we will not bid this project until the utilities are relocated. Not estimated to be relocated, but actually relocated. The good thing about the Rural Water 8 is I don't think we have a formal agreement with them yet, but they have agreed in principle to allow us to do the project. So it'll be just done as part of our project. When we bid the project, we will bid the relocation of their water line as well.
Unfortunately, this is.
Rural Water District number 8 is somewhat unusual, Commissioners, in that because of the lay of the land and You don't want a water line buried 20 feet deep if you can avoid it. It's contemplated that the relocation will actually take place as part of the construction schedule. We believe we can coordinate to where there will be minimal, if no, in fact, we're going to try to avoid any disruption into service to the patrons. But in that case, we'll actually be relocating the line during the project. But that's necessitated because to do otherwise, we'd have to move their line a quarter mile off the road.
I think one of the things we need to keep in mind, though, as we're looking at when is this project going to go out for bid, is that timing can be everything and what kind of pricing you get for the bid pricing that you get from the contractors. So if you wait too long
Yeah.
and they've
you
got
wanted
work
them to
on
start
hand
next
and you want
year.
them to start sooner,
Yeah.
you're going to pay more. We paid a lot more, like to have the transfer station thing done because we wanted it done now. And people have a lot of work on hand, your prices go up. When they don't know what, when they're still in that competitive mode, you're going to get more competitive pricing. So we need to really look at and carefully consider when we get that Eisenhower project put out for bid.
And that's what if the water line's gonna be part of the project, we can't wait till that's moved to put it out for bid, so. So what other utility is in the way that we would have to wait for it to be moved to go out for bid?
The only utilities that we have left, from my understanding, is the 2 water lines and an agreement with Magellan. So it is not necessarily relocations. We are hopeful that the redesign from Wilson will eliminate the need for any relocation on Leavenworth, with Leavenworth Water. But that design is not final yet, so we just need to get that.
And is Magellan a cross-country line that just crosses through there, or is it?
It crosses through a single time, and I believe we are working on an agreement with them as well.
Okay, so there's really not much other than the finishing the design
There is not.
for Leavenworth Water.
We are hopeful that that is all it will come down to, is finishing the redesign for both Rural Water 8 and the redesign needed for Leavenworth Water. And
So
we're working on
realistically, it could go out for bid this year, by the end of the year.
And we still have to have the formal agreement with Water 8 too.
We believe the last impediment to that has been removed, however.
So you'll be at the next meeting?
Wouldn't miss it for the record.
All right.
I don't know if this has ever been discussed, and so my apologies for not knowing the history of it, but at any time during the design process, have we thought about or even contemplated where we've got, really a couple of stoplights from Eisenhower to get past, 20th Street. We continue to talk about travel times. We've got a really big industrial park that we've spent a lot of money on. Has anything ever been discussed or thought about in the way of like a roundabout at just those couple of stoplights?
Oh, my God.
We
Yes,
don't like roundabouts. It has been discussed.
yes,
And,
it has been discussed.
Well, I've heard, attending meetings, I've heard roundabouts being discussed, and I've heard lots of hatred for them.
There was a lawsuit.
Yes, it is,
The cities are not.
it is the city's desire.
It's the city. The city's gonna take it over
And
after.
they're not in favor.
They're
And
not
they're
in favor.
adamantly against.
Yes,
Okay.
yes.
No comment.
Fair enough.
That's why I said yes.
I love roundabouts.
Well, there's a lot of, conversation, obviously, with the west side of the county and trying to get connectivity, and even the east side and trying to get connectivity, and
We're trying to do
stoplights
it west,
ultimately
north,
don't
and
help
south.
with connectivity, so, or travel times.
Yeah.
K7's an amazing example.
Of what not to do?
Yeah, exactly,
Okay.
exactly right.
Okay.
Well, great, I'm glad there was a lawsuit on it, perfect.
Couple.
Okay, so the dust abatement program, as we know, we have finished Group 1. We are actually doing a final walkthrough of that this Friday to make sure that we've finished everything and it's an acceptable roadway completion. Group 2 and Group 3, as we know, have been delayed. Currently, they have been awarded to McEnany and Bettis, as Commissioner Shimkey had asked about previously. We are in conversations with them on whether or not they are willing to hold their bid for the 2020 construction season instead. Additionally, we have Schlegel contracted to finish up the Group 4 and Group 5 designs, and they are also contracted to do the construction services for these projects. Bridges, E58, we are working towards getting that design complete. I believe I saw in my email this morning that we have a 30% preliminary design to review, sitting with us. GBA is the current designer, and we are hoping to have that complete by fall of next year. So we've got a very
Still on
ambitious
schedule.
schedule moving forward. I'm sorry.
Still on schedule for,
Currently, yes. We've got a very ambitious schedule. We are hoping to get that complete. And so,
I think the key on that 30% design is that now they can engage a construction firm.
correct. So once we've made those reviews and made any comments, we will be engaging a construction firm for some value engineering ideas that they may have in moving forward with the final design to both speed up the process as well as get the bids in early and get things moving. HP 10 and 17, they were completed, I believe, last year, and we are moving forward with painting. We're working towards getting an RFP in process. Olson has been asked to put that together for us. So all that is left on those is a sandblasting and painting. Reese Construction built it. Benish led the designs on those.
Have you removed the bridge? The old bridge, is it removed?
I do not believe it has been removed yet.
Oh, okay.
When I spoke with Vince, I believe that was what he was saying yesterday, is that the old bridge is still existing.
Oh, okay. And county crews are going to remove that?
Yes.
Correct, okay.
HP 19 is under design. I apologize, Wilson is designing it. We're working towards that with them. That is one that has somewhat been put on hold with the closure and needing of reconstruction of E58. We're pulling some of the funds from HP 19 to be able to accomplish that. SH 30 is under design by Benish. We are also under easement acquisition with them. It is nearly complete. I believe we are going to be coming to you for a request for geotech to get that done and then get the final design done. We only have a single property left to acquire on that, and then we're hopeful to get that done as well. A49, E18, F46, and T34. You'll see that they are all under design and all being paid for by different TIF accounts, all coming from the Road and Bridge Fund as well, though. Those were presented to Benish under a kind of four-bridge contract, so they're all being designed at the same process by the same groups and moving forward somewhat at the same price.
Yeah, I was going to ask if we've ever tried to put them into groups, similar like we've done other projects, to try to get
Yeah. So
more
those
favorable
four.
pricing when you have, like bridges or areas.
Yeah. So those four all went to Benish as a group project.
F46, that's on 166 north of State. Am I right on that?
I unfortunately do not know that. I would have to look into that, but your memory is probably,
I think it is.
okay.
Yeah,
I was going to say, I think it'd actually be helpful to have like a
Bridge
map
map?
that
I
actually
have one of
had-
those, yeah,
Yes.
absolutely. I can provide that to you.
I can tell you D18's on 147.
I would imagine that there are very few people that could beat you on a map.
Certainly not myself.
Crossword.
You know, there's somebody said
bridges.
they gave her address the other day, and they're on 172nd, but I can't find 172nd. This Evans Road. So, there wasn't one, but anyways. No, but I think that is, and I think it'd be nice if maybe when we put a new bridge in there, maybe we get Baser to do the maintenance on the street after that.
I could
It's close,
absolutely
there's
look
by,
into
there's properties annexed into the city by it.
that. You said
That's just a MOU or a interlocal agreement we gotta get with all of our cities
Already.
on our maintenance.
I think that's fair. If you want to annex, be a
Mhm.
good start. Maybe take care of
And we'll
that.
put a new bridge in, and you guys take it.
We have the Atchison, what is labeled as the Atchison County Bridge. I do not know much about this bridge, with the exception of the fact that from a board order 2018-11, we agreed to pay a portion of that. So that is complete, and we have paid our portion of that.
Are they gonna build the bridge?
I
We've been talking about this for about 8 years, I think.
Okay,
And that's an Atchison project.
right.
Yeah, but commissioners had changed,
Mhm.
so I don't know. It's just a narrow bridge. It's not, and there's no deficiencies on it. I mean, it was built in like 1918 or 1920, something like that. So it was really built, but it's just narrow. So I don't know whether it's a different priority now, or.
I'm not
or what.
familiar with the bridge or the bridge project. That was before I came in here. I started looking through what we've paid year to date, and that came up, so,
So that is what we have paid here today?
yes.
So we might be paying on a project that ultimately may not be moving forward?
I'm not sure of the
Atchison
arrangement.
County's gonna build that bridge.
Yeah.
I'm
So
not
we're
sure.
off the hook.
We
We're
think.
done.
We just had just a small amount that we had.
Well, yeah, it doesn't even look like they covered the design, so, okay.
Mark, did you get a chance to ask Atchison about the Potter Bridge?
I did send them a request,
Mary?
and I did not get a response.
Okay. They were talking about working on the Potter Bridge, and I wanted them to coordinate it with the Millwood Bridge, make sure we didn't shut them both down at the same time, so.
Well, that wouldn't be good.
Yeah, so we're waiting to hear back what their plan is.
Think your phone would ring on that, do you?
Yeah.
I'd not even call you on that one.
So coming to the end of our design projects here, we've got 235th Street. That is the last of what was a group of 6 projects that Wilson was designing. We put all but 235th Street on hold. It was somewhat stalled whenever we started having turnover within our office. Olson has picked that back up, and they're coordinating with Wilson to get that moving forward again. So you'll see that we have not spent any to date, but to date, we're nearing design.
Will 235th Street, will it be designed as all one project, or will it be in phases, or? do
I
you have any
believe,
idea?
if my memory serves me correctly, we currently have it as a single phase, as all one project. But I would certainly have to look back into
Is
that.
that easier to get KDOT funding for that, all one, or is it for phases?
I would have to look
Or-
into
To
or-
do it all at once.
It is, I understand that. But notice, we only got KDOT funding for the first couple miles, probably 13, 14 years ago.
Yeah,
So, yeah, I guess we should have did it all at once back
there
then.
you go.
We couldn't have met our match. Well, we probably could have back then, it was 408, so yeah, we should have did it
It's
as one.
cheaper to do it all at once.
178th Street was our last of our leftover PRP projects. Napier Engineering was the designer on that. We have been in communications with him to update that design to an asphalt roadway. It butts between 2 of our dust abatement groups. And so instead of having a chip and seal in between 2 asphalt roadways, we have requested that we update that design to an asphalt road instead, similar to the cement treated base that we will have on Group 2 and 3.
Did we let them know to go ahead and pay attention to the utility relocates as
Well,
well?
these are already relocated.
They are, okay.
Yeah.
Well, I was saying, if it was a paved in place, it may not have been a part of the original scope, which is how we got here to begin with. so.
It was not going to be a pavement place, it was an initial,
It was a
it
design.
was
a
going to be a
design.
chip and seal full design, but it was a full
Yeah,
design.
okay.
So it will be able to go out to bid before the end of the year?
We are hopeful, yes.
Yeah, okay.
And lastly, County Road 1, we have finished all of that up. We're having a couple conversations with Cutler still, but that road is final and open, painted, and moving along. So I will have an update for you guys shortly on the completion of that.
Okay.
That all got worked out with the damage insurance payment, fixing the,
I believe we are still in communications with the insurance, but yes, we did identify who was at fault here, and it's been moving forward. We have been in communications with their insurance.
someone ultimately raised their hand, didn't they?
I don't know that somebody ultimately
Yes.
owned it.
Yeah, I thought they did. Well, yeah, let's say they
Well, the
came
sheriff asked
forward.
them to raise
Say they
their
came
hand.
When somebody, when your hand is, one's behind your back.
Sure.
Stick your hands up.
One's behind your back, one's in the
It
air.
is what it is.
Yeah.
And lastly, I just have a full department-wide update with the staffing changes. We have hired on 1 heavy vehicle tech on Chris's team, and then, as Vince said, a heavy equipment operator transition to buildings and grounds. We had 5 summer positions exit. although that was not quite as many as we would hope for. We did have them come in for the summer, including the summer intern in our office. Public Works Director obviously has exited, and then myself has taken on this role. Job postings that we currently have available: engineering superintendent, the Public Works Director, a mower operator, and a flagger are still available, as well as, it sounds like we will be opening up a
And
possible
the
heavy
mower,
equipment
it's
operator.
temporary?
I
part-time,
believe
or-
Vince said it was part-time, yeah.
Okay.
And then lastly, we've got all the budget numbers in there, as well as the TIF funds for each township and the RIF funds for each township.
So the mower's a 1,000-hour position? Is that,
I believe so, I would have to look. Vince had just told me that that was the position that he had available.
is it getting, are we getting close? Maybe we should make that a full-time position, and then they could help with snow removal in the winter?
I would have to ask Vince if that was, I would imagine so. I know we always need some help.
I think you always need help.
I think
out there.
Vince and I discussed transitioning some of their IOC positions, the summer help, and combining it with the part-time and creating one full-time position, so they have them year-round, and help them fill the positions, because they really didn't have a lot of luck filling some of those IOC positions this summer.
Okay. All right.
It's tough to compete with the $15
is.
an hour
It is, yes.
FedEx, Amazon, Nebraska Furniture Mart, $12 at, I think $14 at Walmart now. And we're trying to hire less than that to go work in the heat. So it's tough for us to compete, so maybe going to a full-time position would be a little better.
Okay.
Thanks,
All right.
Lauren.
Thanks, Lauren.
Thank you,
Doing
John.
a great
Yeah,
job.
excellent job.
Have a good day, Commissioners.
Are we ready for Mr. Yocum? Nope, solid waste now.
Good morning, Commissioners.
Morning, Tammy.
So this is our quarterly report. I did want to thank you all for providing food for my staff out there on Friday, because I was off, so I couldn't come and get it. So I did want to thank you guys for that, for including them. We have tonnage reports for the last quarter. We've served 9,200 customers in that quarter. Our annual cleanup, we've had 127 residents in the last quarter. 60 ton. We've sent our HHW annual report in so that we're in compliance with KDHE on that. We've hosted 2 cleanups. Recycling is a struggle. Recycling is down everywhere. So we have started taking our own cardboard to Batliner. We're only getting $15 a ton, but it is what it is. I was at a conference last week, and metal is going down as well.
Like $30 now or something?
Yeah, it's just a struggle all the way around. We're still currently getting 80 to 90 a ton on our metal, but I foresee that going down.
Yeah.
Our training is up to date. We had Zach go last quarter for his 24-hour HHW so that we stay in compliance with KDHE on that. So everybody is trained and up to date. Batteries, we attended an EPA meeting on batteries because they're a cause for fire in transfer stations and landfills. And struggling to keep trailers. We've ran out several times. I sent an email about 3 weeks ago asking for a couple more trailers. I never got the trailers, but they've been keeping up. So for the last couple weeks. So we haven't ran out the last couple weeks, so we're extremely happy about that. Because per KDHE, we can't leave any trash on the floor overnight.
On the recycling, I'm pretty sure all the commissioners get emails or phone calls about wanting recycling. And what was it, about a year or two ago, was a year ago when the price dropped on recycling, or it wasn't feasible?
Right.
Actually, we pay for our co-mingled
Mhm.
to recycle that. We get paid for aluminum and cardboard and glass now because we take our own glass. And again, it's minimal, but it pays for the round trip
Okay.
and it's recycled.
But, you know, pretty much like the Spacer doesn't have it at the school anymore, correct? Everybody's
Correct.
It's
gotten rid
pretty,
of
it's
all the
pretty cost
recycling.
prohibitive, that's the problem.
Right.
Right, it was costing, but something
And
just.
a lot of it
becomes-
still
mean-
ends up in the landfill anyway.
Tammy, you
What is your
mentioned just
reason?
it might cover the cost of hauling, but I mean, when you do the math on the personnel and the equipment and, you know, if you go down the list, more often than not, at those numbers and figures, I'm betting it's not. I mean, it's just incredibly cost prohibitive. Something's got to be done, otherwise you're going to continue to see less and less of it.
Yes.
People need to be more innovative about what they're doing on the end use with, after you separate it out, ready to recycle, and there's, nobody's doing anything with it.
Mhm.
You can have plastic, but.
We spend a little more time on that, a little less time trying to get on Mars, probably.
Yeah.
Well, like I said, everybody got into the recycling and then it kind of,
Then it costs
Went
them money.
away.
Yeah, and they killed it.
Yeah, and it's a good thing. It's just not free like people
Right,
assume
it's
that
not
it
free.
It's
is.
a great thing.
it's a great thing, but it's not profitable.
No,
And it's not only not, but then you've got to do something with it once you've recycled it. I mean, once you've taken it
And
in,
a lot of it's ended up in
something,
the
right.
landfill anyway.
Because what do you do with it? There needs to be more innovation in how do you use it then?
Well, the United States had no problem shipping it to other countries, but now they're
I
not
know,
using
but they
it.
don't want it. And,
Nobody retooled to use it.
it's kind of, it's kind of cool, thing where there's people that make the, out of plastic
Mhm.
grocery
The
bags,
bedding.
mats,
Mhm.
For people who are homeless so that they have a mat to sleep on.
yeah, the
So,
school that my grandkids
Just-
go to did that as a project.
Right, just doing things like that, which, that takes
Which
care
I
of
was
part of it.
able
but-
to give them plenty of bags.
Right, yeah.
And I have my patio furniture is made out of recycled plastic, so, there's ways of using it and molding it, it's just getting people to do it.
And buying recycled
It's recycled, the plastic.
is expensive,
Oh, yeah.
Well, till it changes, I guess there's nothing we can do about it.
No.
Maybe it'll come
Put it on the
back.
ballot.
No. Okay.
Other than that, that's what we've been up to out there.
You guys doing a great job.
And you're fully staffed also? You've got all
We
your
are.
slots full? Okay. All right, and we'll just wait
you-
and see how your project turns out. Let's hope it goes well.
I'm sure it will.
I was just curious about the conference you attended. I mean, was there anything innovative or is there anything interesting happening specific to?
This one was focused mainly on fires
Okay.
in transfer stations and landfills and recycling. There's 2 counties out west that they just got 2 new recycling trailers last year, and they have stopped recycling, period.
I just remember when I was in high school, there was a teacher named Walter League, and he had us always using palimpsest. And never once did you get a test or anything, or if you turned in anything to Mr. League that was not on the backside of already used paper, you got a 0. I mean, it was, but that was his kind of thing of, he collected from all the teachers, all the leftover tests and stuff, and would use everything for the backside of those papers to be used again.
Never got lucky enough to have a recycled test?
Oh, it was, no.
That had
Yeah.
answers on
But it was just hilarious, and he gave us quizzes, he had a sponge, and you had to take them in pencil on your desk, And he would walk around the room and look down to take, to check, your answers, and if then give you a grade, and then take a sponge and clean your desk off.
He
I
was
mean,
ahead of his time.
yes, this was in the 70s, so. He was a cool dude. He was a Latin teacher, too.
Okay. And all your vehicles and equipment's in good shape? Don't have any major breakdowns or repairs?
No, the county shop has been doing a really good job of, anytime we have anything, we get it out there and they get it taken care of.
Anybody have any other questions of Tammy?
Have a good day.
All right,
You too.
thank
Thank
you.
you.
Thanks, you and your staff, for everything you do. Now we got Mr. Yocum.
Good morning, Commissioners. How are you?
Good morning.
Good morning.
Okay, Buildings and Grounds, third quarter report. You guys got my preliminary one. It was basically a breakdown of our larger items. I'll hit some of them. We had a chiller go down at the courthouse. That hit us for about 5 Gs. We replaced a coil, an A coil, out at the EMS station as it went bad. Mid-Continental finished up our east entrance on the repairs to that. It is back open and usable. The Justice Center carpet bid went out. It opened. We have since completed the lower level, working on the second level now in the sheriff's area, and then moving up as far as we can, not to exceed our budgeted item that we have for that. Little Joe's Asphalt worked well with us around the weather. We kind of flexed that from the weekend up to a Friday due to the fact that we had that torrential downpour. They finished it up Friday. Stripers finished up about an hour and a half after Stripers finished, about downpour started, so luckily the paint dried. That since has been completed. The Health Department, we had the canopy hit by a postal truck a while ago. We've since remedied the way we're going to go about fixing it, and then dealing with the post office afterwards. And stucco company that had repaired it the first time is coming back out to repair it. They should be out in the next couple of weeks to finish that process. The outside of the Justice Center, all the non-clad windows, we painted the doors and windows as they were peeling and looking pretty bad. The transfer station upcoming paving work is set to begin Saturday afternoon after they close. It'll be closed for 1 week. Other than that, fourth quarter, we're getting ready for snow. Hopefully we don't have any large events and stay to our budget and move forward.
Any question, Mr. Yocum, on buildings and grounds?
Nope,
portion?
doing a great job.
The other item we have are sewer districts. Sewer District 1, we had multiple grinder pump failures, which we've dealt with. We had one discharge. They have mowed the area. Sewer District 2, they had issues with a rock filtration in lift station 2. We had that vacked out and cleaned. We've also got a VFD motor that's going bad on that pump. Mr. Getz is working to get a cost estimate on either replacing that motor or rebuilding it, which one's most cost effective, and then how many times it has been rebuilt is my questions to him. We're working on that. We also had an exposed sewer line in Sewer District 2 that was washed out. We repaired it with dirt and then putting a little bit of riprap in there because it's in a valley where the water carries down. It exposed a second time. We put a asphalt shell over it basically to divert the water around where it was opening the earth to it, so that way we haven't had any problems. That was about a month ago. We haven't had any problems since then. Sewer District 5, he had normal maintenance. We had some solenoids go bad on lift stations, and he is working to mow that one currently.
Congrats on getting certified.
Thanks.
Yeah,
Yeah.
glad you did. So we have you and Mr.
Myself,
Getz.
Mr. Getz, and Alan Phillips
And Alan.
from Noxious Weeds.
Okay.
Correct.
Has anyone else showed any interest in
We
getting a
have had
wastewater
a
license?
county employee try to receive his certificate 3 times without success.
How many times can you do it?
President, you-
Keep going. It's just, at some point, you just say, okay, we're gonna move on. We'll work, one of Mr. Getz's goals that I put in his was to work with the person that normally helps him with that and work him to certified. Since he has moved over to buildings and grounds and out of the bridge crew, my next option was to get with our administrator and see if he would like a buildings and grounds crew member to be working with him, since he's working in conjunction with buildings and grounds.
And you have, someone has to work with a licensed operator for a year before they can take the test? Is that
They have to
correct?
work for the county for a year.
Oh, no.
And once they've worked with the county for a year and they've worked with the entity, 6 months for a small systems, 1 year for a systems ones, which we have, or which I have and Mr. Getz, as well as Mr. Phillips have. And then from that point, once they've worked with them and they've experienced it, then they can qualify for KDHD tests.
Okay. And what's the life expectancy of all these lagoons? Do you have an estimate on that?
We are working with multiple cities to try and decommission as quickly as possible. I know our administrator has been in contact with Baser as well as Bonner. How those are moving forward, I'm not 100% sure. The goal is to get Leavenworth County out of the lagoon business as soon as possible.
Does anybody go in there and help them to do kind of the cost benefit analysis to say, look, there's an estimate here that it's going to take, X to connect this district to your existing lines, and the revenue driven by those 50 households or 150 households is Y, and do some of that formula for them? They should be doing it themselves. My guess is they don't, but I could be wrong.
Well, because the homeowners have to pay for it.
So we had,
Well, but just think about it. There's a cost of the project. I realize the homeowners and the county's involvement, but there's a revenue component if you tie it into an existing sewer. So the city has revenue upside. So trying to get the city to commit to making an investment, maybe the county will make an investment because ultimately that cost will go away. Or again, you think about it, it's a cost that we're not covering from those homeowners, but there's got to be an equitable go forward.
Yeah.
In some of these cases, not across the board. I realize some of them are as inequitable as they could get, but.
So we have done that. We've offered to actually pay for a feasibility study in one instance, and in the other instance, we have a project on what it would take us to connect them. And it's not a priority for the cities, I'll just say that.
Right. Shocker.
Yeah.
Then we always have High Crest, which is,
There are some that are just not ever going to,
Sure.
not in
It's just not gonna
any
work.
near future will they be able to connect.
our expansion west, as the city would have to exponentially move west to take care of High Crest.
Right.
Got the park out there.
Hey, let's roll the dice, come on.
Yeah.
Nancy, get moving on building out that way.
Yeah.
I was just going to ask, do we have an ETA? I know that the work has begun on this kind of larger CIP effort, as far as identifying those projects that are generally outside of our typical budget.
Our CIP projects we are in the process of identifying them and then moving them forward with our administrator so that we can lay forth a next year's budget for CIP project, as well as he's asked for a 5-year plan from us to push forward on what we expect for our buildings, our grounds, and then moving forward.
Okay.
As the board changes and as interest change and as places that we look to move and expand change, that has to be a fluid motion for us. But with what we can foresee, we're working to next year's budget, put together our CIP, as well as he's asked for a 5-year plan from us on things that we currently know.
I know that I had discussions with both of you, just kind of curious if we had looked at it before in regards to solar. The reason I asked is I think through even last month, we've spent almost
Currently, you have-
$350,000 on electricity, if anybody was counting. So-
Currently, I have 2 companies, one local, one is not, working up estimates on all of our county buildings. The preliminary problem is when they ask for a year's worth of billing for all of our buildings, that normally came out in a 1,000-page document
Right.
from the office. They are currently sifting through those, and working to a feasibility study. With that, the first one came out, we've gone through our facilities. They've done a 2-year look at where the sun hits and how many panels they could put in different locations. Trying to get a zero balance on buildings is the optimal goal. The size of the roofs on these 2 buildings, he said you're hopeful for a 10% to a 15% max. So on our electric bill, that the one I believe you were looking at was $29,000, you're looking at a $3,000 give or take savings per month on installation costs. He has not come back with the cost yet as they're still sifting through it, but I did have him pull all of our buildings so that we could look at what panels would be or best solutions for those buildings for alternative energy sources.
Okay.
Back to the sewer districts. KDHE doesn't have any concerns, correct, on any of these lagoons that's saying, hey, you need to look at decommissioning?
Currently, they haven't.
Okay.
No,
So
we
we're
have.
okay.
We had some issues last year that we had some discrepancies, but it was basically in policies. Those were corrected within a month, and then all of our paperwork turned back into KDHD, and they were good with our updated policies. It had to do with how we were testing our calibrating our machine to test our tests. It had to add an extra buffer, a buffer from an opposite, so they wanted a powder as well as a liquid. Other than that, all of our testing has been up to date and everything else.
Okay. So they're happy.
Correct, currently,
And that's
yes,
all-
sir.
That's all we need then. Does anybody have any more questions, Mr. Yocum?
Thanks for grilling.
Yeah.
Doing great.
That's what we're
job.
here for.
That's what we're here for. All right. Thank you.
Thanks, Aaron.
Thanks, Aaron.
Good day.
You too.
Damn it, here.
We ready for a review of our financing plan?
Commissioners, over the past several months, we've been discussing the financing for the dust abatement projects, and obviously Eisenhower will be going out for bid soon. So I've asked Mr. Arterberry to come in today and just kind of go over what the process is and where we're going forward with it, what our current plan is. We have put together a calendar which allows us to complete a temporary note issuance prior to the end of the year, so that we will have the adequate cash balance to complete those projects. And with that, I'll turn it over to Mr. Arterberry.
And Mark, just real quick, I mean, this is relative to the significant cash we've had to outlay due to unforeseen events and more of a timing implication.
No, not necessarily the unforeseen events. Obviously, we had programmed to do the dust abatement projects, and we had programmed to do Eisenhower, 147th, McIntyre, all those projects as well. But with that, we have sales tax coming in and money going back out on these projects, and we're right at that point via design and some of the other things that we feel like to continue at the pace that we are, which is to continue to complete the projects that we've already identified. We will not generate enough sales tax during the time that we will be doing the construction. Therefore, we need to issue, at the very minimum, temporary notes, which will then, as we get the projects done, will either be converted to a bond, which would be a little longer term, or potentially pay off those temporary notes with the sales tax money as it comes in as much as possible. But it was anticipated from the very beginning with the dust abatement projects that the pace that we chose, we would not have the cash flow from sales tax to do them on a cash flow basis. So we were going to have to issue.
Which is timing.
Yeah, that's why we have to issue this debt.
And what about the money we had spent on the tornado cleanup and the reimbursement we're going to get from FEMA?
And we discussed that, and we had a very productive phone call earlier this week. We cannot issue debt to reimburse ourselves for that, but we can use funding from one of the other projects that is eligible for debt issuance to reimburse ourselves until we get the FEMA payback. And then use the money that was allocated for that, a road project, let's say, we can use that money to cover the costs. And we have more costs coming in, and I expect before the end of the year, some of these other cities will bill us for their share of it as well.
Okay. So the tornado cleanup, everything came out of Public Works' budget?
Yes, but what I said, like I said, what we're going to do is identify a project that was completed this year that will potentially fund out of this note issuance that we're talking about. And then that money that was allocated in the budget will be then allocated towards the storm cleanup. So there shouldn't be a negative impact on Public Works.
Okay.
Good morning.
Good morning.
My name is David Arterberry. It's a pleasure to be here. And as Mark was saying, what I wanted to do is just kind of walk through with you the process that the county will need to go through to issue these temporary notes to fund the road projects and the relief for the FEMA monies. And I wanted to spend just a few minutes going through this with you because I know the county hasn't issued debt in a while, and I just wanted to make sure you knew what steps that you as the commission would be taking in the coming weeks and months, as well as what would kind of be going on behind the scenes to issue the temporary notes. And to that end, you should have in front of you a calendar of events. And what I've tried to do here is to highlight in yellow the three big steps that the commission will need to take related to the debt issuance. And the first step today is just to review the overall financing plan and the schedule. And I know Mark went through in good detail their list of the projects that would be included. After today, the next step that the county would take would be scheduled for the 23rd of October, which is to adopt what we call a sale resolution, or sometimes we refer to it as a go-to-market resolution. This is the step where the commission officially says, yes, we want to proceed with the sale of the notes. Go ahead and take the official steps that will need to occur in order to have the debt rated and bring the debt to the market and take bids on it. So the first step would be today just to review the financing plan. The second step would occur on the 23rd to actually adopt a resolution saying we want to sell temporary notes. And then the third step, you'll see it's actually, we've broken it apart into two yellow steps there in November. What we would do on November 19th, according to the schedule, is we'd actually take the bids on the temporary notes. And that's the day before a commission meeting. We'd take them in the afternoon. And then the following morning at the commission meeting, we would review those bids for the temporary notes. And you would, assuming we get good bids, you would accept the best bid, which would be the firm that would offer to purchase the temporary notes with the lowest interest rate to the county. And then you would also adopt a note resolution that locks in the interest rate and officially authorizes the issuance of those notes. So those are sort of the three steps that the commission would need to take. In between those steps, staff and us and legal counsel will be working to put together the offering prospectus for the issue, the document that would be distributed to potential bidders. We would also work with the rating agency to secure a rating on the notes. And then we would also go out and, promote the sale. We would talk to potential bidders, make sure they're aware of it, try to drum up interest to get a good response, and hopefully get you then the lowest possible interest rates. All that, is scheduled to occur this month and in November, and then after the sale would occur, in late November, mid to late November, a few weeks need to pass in order to assemble all of the documents related to the issue and have the Attorney General in Kansas approve the issuance. And then if things stay on track, on December 10th, then the issue would close and the county would receive its funds. So there's a lot of steps through here, and this is just sort of the beginning of the process for the commission. but I wanted to make sure you kind of knew what you were in for, and you'll have opportunity to ask questions going forward, but obviously you can ask them now too if you have any questions.
Last time we bonded was December of 16,
Yeah.
so we made it 3 years almost. December 8th, maybe?
7th or 8th.
Huh? Sound right? December 8th? You said December 10th?
Good man.
Do interest rates on bonds track with the Fed, or how does?
Yeah, for the most part, yes. You know, whenever you hear of treasury rates moving, interest rates on treasury bonds moving, you can assume that the interest rate on tax-exempt bonds, which tax-exempt debt is what, you know, the county would be issuing, you can assume it's going to be moving in the same direction. These notes, what we're talking here about, since this is just construction period funding for the project, we're talking about short-term notes, short-term obligations. And the interest rate that usually is paid on these does move pretty closely with the interest rate that the Federal Reserve sets. So if in the next month or two you hear that the Federal Reserve has lowered interest rates, that's a pretty good indication that the rates that you will get on your temporary notes will get lower.
They're pretty much as
also.
low as they can go, aren't they? Just about.
Yeah, they've been lower. You know, right now, if we were to sell the notes, I would be guessing the interest rate would be about 1.5%. We were actually at a time, about 2 or 3 years ago, when it probably would have been closer to, you know, a little under 1% for this kind of borrowing. So they've been lower, but historically, they're still really low. Yeah.
Now, didn't we get $4 million of taxable bonds in 2016?
We did. And
This is before I got here, so I'm not going to own this one.
we did do the taxable series, which we used for the industrial parks.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
So we got 9 million non-taxable and 4 million taxable, somewhere around that area. Am I correct?
We did 8 or 9 million in, 15?
August of 15,
Yeah.
they've done 8.5 million.
And then we did a 9 million and a 4 million in 16. And 4.16 or something was taxable.
The previous board did that. And we paid about $700,000 for the interest before we spent any of it.
That was our first payment, $723,000 or something.
$763.25 or something like that, before we spent a dime of it.
And actually, what is circulating right now is just a list of the county's outstanding long-term bonds. These are the bonds that were issued back in 15 and 16. It doesn't show the original issuance amount, but it shows the amount that was outstanding at the beginning of this year.
I remember it was $8.5 million in August of 15, and they sold bonds because they thought it was such a good rate, even though they didn't need the money.
Yeah.
Just somewhere around
Yeah, 8.2.
22 million, I think, total between the three
8.2.
issuances.
Yeah, and then at the beginning.
Then you got fees on top of that.
As of the beginning of this year, the county had $19.81 million. This is on page 4 of outstanding bonds. In March of this year, you paid off about $830,000 of that, so you got a little under $19 million of outstanding bonds, all of which I believe is paid back from the sales tax.
Right. And we had, when it was up to 22.4
It
something.
was 22 something
Yeah.
with the original issuance.
Paid down over the last few years. So, and as Mark was mentioning, you know, this is construction period funding, and I think our plan that we sort of developed, and this is still flexible and it could change, but these notes would come due towards the end of next year. At that time, the county would probably have a much better idea of the project cost on Eisenhower Road. So what we'd anticipate doing would be rolling over this note next year, plus adding to it some additional funding necessary to complete Eisenhower Road. At that time, if you wanted to, if you've got surplus sales tax money, you could use some of that money to buy the size of the note down, but you don't have to do it. Once Eisenhower Road is done, a year or two later, you would then look at using, to the extent that you've got sales tax money available to pay off the notes, that'd be great. If there's not enough sales tax money there to pay off all the notes, then as Mr. Lawfrey mentioned, you could issue long-term bonds to redeem the rest of the notes.
Now, on the cash basis law, do we have to have the money bonded before we can go out for bid?
We have to have a commitment that we will go out, which we already have, actually.
Okay.
Yeah. Yeah.
Okay.
Back
I'm just curious why they went and bonded so quickly after the sales tax passed in 15.
I think, I don't.
Nobody can explain it, I know.
Well, I think you've used that was before you were here. That was
That's
before
correct.
I was here.
That's correct. I'm just trying to figure it out.
We issued 3 bonds before we collected the first distribution on the sales tax.
Right.
That wouldn't have been.
Didn't need the money, didn't have nowhere to go with it.
But we did, and
Well, don't say we.
the
Somebody
county
else
did, and Canada did.
Mr. Van Paris.
Commissioners, I was present at the time, and I would just tell you the commission at that time believed that they would be able to put the 3 road projects out for bid in a relatively short period of time, issued the debt, and then as the design process began, unfortunately ran into the reality that it couldn't be done in the time frame that had been contemplated.
Well, I was hoping you'd say because of a cash basis law, they had to do that.
I could say that.
It would make me feel better,
I could say almost anything.
but
Yeah, I think that was the that's the best explanation that can be given, and it's accurate. It was a misjudgment.
okay. Well,
You will notice on this calendar, on the meeting on October 23rd, we've highlighted there, commission adopts project resolutions. Sometimes when borrowing is done, a county, not sometimes, every time a borrowing is done, a county needs to specifically adopt a resolution saying, we're going to undertake this project and we're going to issue debt for this project. That's what we call a project resolution or a project authorizing resolution. When we drew this calendar up, a month or so ago, at that time, we didn't realize you had already taken steps,
Okay.
as Mr. Van Paris was mentioning, back in 2016 to authorize debt for these projects. Even though it hadn't gotten issued yet, it was authorized. So we don't actually, where it mentions in this calendar project resolutions, that's not something we have to do here because that's already been taken care of a few years ago.
okay. Commissioners have any more questions?
I was kind of curious, just, debt to income ratio, where Leavenworth County, again, I'm always the one asking how that compares, as we look at like-sized counties, adjacent counties. It's all got to be public record. I don't know if anybody's looked at it, but.
Well, actually, that very topic, as well as a lot of other credit-related issues, gets brought up during the rating call.
Okay.
Which is scheduled for, I'm looking here, sometime late October or right about the 1st of November. You'll see rating conference call with Standard & Poor's. So, going into that, we'll have a pretty good idea of how the county looks, both in terms of your finances of the county itself, as well as the demographic and economic information of the county. And those rating calls are actually pretty interesting to sit in on. If you would be interested, you could kind of hear a little bit of a feedback from the rating agency about how they evaluate your credit, including the things like wealth and income levels.
They're interesting to some people.
Right.
Just to clarify. I have sat
Largely you listen and multitask.
I have sat in on multiple ones, and yes, they are interesting to some people.
We have a good rating. Okay.
Thank
Thanks.
Thanks a lot. Sorry it took so long to get to you.
Oh, no, that's quite all right. I had the opportunity to work with Mark in a prior life out in Hayes, and I'd much rather sit here half an hour from home with Mark talking than 4 hours.
I think Mr. Arterberry and I have worked off and on different debt issuances for 18 years, I'm going to guess.
Yeah.
So never on the Missouri side, I don't think. But,
No.
in Hayes and then now here, so.
Okay. Well, that's good. You know who you're working with.
So is he going to take you to Taco Bell after the meeting?
No, I believe that'd be against county policy.
Oh.
Yeah, I just had one question when it gets done with Janet.
David.
Oh, I'm sorry.
I just had one question. I was just curious, would having a large part of your demographic area affect your rating at all if that area was a tax exempt? Like, say, 30% of your demographic area was tax exempt?
That is a really good question. One of the things that the rating agencies like when they're looking at a community is they like a strong state or federal presence.
Okay.
So I'm guessing that's what kind of you're
Check that
referring
box,
to.
Jeff.
So that
we
they
have a
would
strong-
view that as a positive. Now, you've got a very strong both state and federal presence.
Yeah.
So
Like 30%.
Yeah. That would, given the nature of those institutions and the stability of those,
Okay.
yeah, they would view that positively.
Okay. Well, that's one good thing.
Yeah.
Jeff, maybe that helps to answer your DC question that you brought up the other day.
Kinda.
Okay.
Probably part of it.
Thank you very much.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Look forward to working with you.
Okay. All right.
Thanks, Janet.
Before we do our executive session, the real property is, any commissioners going to be able to make the LCDC on Thursday?
Tomorrow, yeah, I'll be there.
Okay.
In Tommy?
Yeah, is anybody else?
Another
Okay,
conflict.
okay, all right, well, I'll be there then. Just so there's two of us there, all right. And the commissioners had anything they want to catch us up on for the past week?
The Mental Health Task Force met and is going to be moving forward with trying to work toward answering questions coming before the commission to ask a formal question and things like that. So that's moving forward, and that's where that is.
All right. Like I said, most of us made it to the United Way fundraiser or kickoff, and I attended VFW candidate forum in Tonganoxie Saturday. Bayshore Car Show just for a little bit. The rain was horrible. Went to the German Fest at Wyandotte County Fairgrounds for the Lutheran Church on 7 Highway. And Fairmount Township Fire Department is having their open houses Saturday from 10 to 2. Lunch will be provided by Atmos Energy. They're going to give away free smoke detectors, free kids' bike helmets. They have a bounce house, base painting. It's going to be a big deal. So I encourage everyone to go. It's cheap entertainment for the children. And the Alliance, we cannot forget the Alliance. The Alliance Against Family Violence is holding a dinner fundraiser at the Gideon at 13930 Mitchell Street, Bayshore, Kansas. And that'd be October 26th. Tickets are $50 per person. You can get your tickets at Kansas Country Store, Z&M Winery, Evenbright, and the last day to purchase tickets will be October 20th, and it could sell out. Is that correct?
That's what they say.
So get your tickets. There was was hoping someone would be here today to sell tickets, but I will get mine when I leave here. And let's see, what else we got going on? I think that's about it. Oh, what's tomorrow? Is this tomorrow? The October 7th, no, that's next week.
That's
Never
next
mind.
week.
All right. So, anyone have anything else?
I had Easton City Council meeting Monday night, and like I said before, Mayor Bob Watkins stepped down for health issues. Also, I was talking to him, they were asking us about solar panels, so it was interesting that we were talking about that earlier today with Aaron. The city wants to put up solar panels to compensate their electric bills, and so there's some FEMA lots that FEMA, because of the flood
Yeah,
buyouts.
they bought them out.
And there's some that are in the city's name, some that are in the county's name that are outside the city limits. And so I'm going to get hold of FEMA and work with them to see about putting solar panels on stilts on those lots for the city of Easton. So
Is there any way the county can get rid of them lots to the city?
I actually was working with a guy at FEMA, and we had it worked out to where he was going to allow the county to deed those to the city, but then he retired. So now I'm starting over again with the new guy.
Okay.
So I'm trying to work on that, getting that out of the county's name.
Would the
so.
city have to annex them in?
Yeah, and they said no problem, they'd do that.
It's continuation of annexation anyways,
Yeah,
right?
yeah, it's
Okay.
contiguous to the city.
It's exciting to see the progress that's being made on solar. At the same time, it's not as equitable as it could or should be. I think we're still, whether that's 5 years away or I don't know. You need a lot of square footage for starters, right? Or a lot of area. whether that's
Exactly,
lots
exactly
or
why they were
building
talking
size.
about it. And Aaron kind of touched on that when he said we could only supplement, 10% of our bill with the
15%.
roof space we got. So now I see why they're looking at not only putting them on their lots, but our lots too.
Well, and my concern was, from a municipality perspective, is that there's tremendous tax benefits, but when you don't pay tax as an entity.
Yeah.
So if you could
Yeah.
write off
Yeah.
40% as a private institution, that changes the investment and return
Yeah.
pretty
Right,
substantially.
that's-
And I had a feeling that was probably going to make it even worse.
Yeah.
But it's still worth the
I
exercise.
don't think we'd get much energy today.
Yeah, you're right, yeah.
And then City Leavenworth's council meeting last night. Couple things they talked about. One was interesting, when they're raising their sewer and trash fees. So I thought that was interesting for the city patrons. Here's a fun fact, Matt. Me and Mark were just curious what the total valuation is of our districts. So I made a map of each district's total valuation.
You can't give this up, can you?
So I thought it was interesting. Whose district is worth how much in total appraised value? My district is the least valued district, but the caveat to that is it's not counting Fort Leavenworth. So if you counted the $2 billion on Fort Leavenworth,
You just put
I'm
us all
3
out of
times the rest of the districts.
Hmm.
So that's very interesting.
You don't collect any taxes
Exactly.
off of your car.
It's
Excuse
kind
me?
Exactly my point.
The only thing I was going to add on updates was, obviously attended a number of comprehensive plan-related meetings last week, and
Yeah.
the charrette, of course. Curious what kind of feedback everybody's been getting, but I've gotten quite a bit from developers in the area, and not overwhelming support in regards to the results, so
Well, I've had
I'm sure there's
positive-
very mixed, but.
Right.
I've had positive
I have.
reviews of it, very positive responses.
I have got negative.
But we got a long way to go, too.
Oh, yeah, understood.
Right. But
I just
right
sharing
now
updates along the way, that there's a lot of.
I'm hoping
lot
that
of concern, so.
the next phase is going to fix a lot of those issues.
I hope so, because people have a real problem with people sticking stickers on their property telling them what they need to
Well,
do
that's
with their
true.
property.
But just the process itself.
Right, I know, and that's what I said,
There's
it's
been
nothing
positive.
written in
There's-
stone. So, that was my feedback I've gotten, so.
I will say that the tailgate that we did was much more fun than the charrette. I went into a charrette thinking there would be dancing, but
Hey, we had fun. We had fun. If you,
but a ton of credit to staff.
Yes.
Oh, yeah,
They put
absolutely.
in tremendous time.
They
And
did.
I'm not being critical of the work that was done. I question some of the feedback that we've been getting and sources of feedback, but we'll see where it evolves, so.
Yeah.
People don't always embrace change. It's not, the majority
Right,
of people
I
don't.
understand that, but
And because there's a lot of fear, and so you have to have a lot of conversations and correcting misconceptions and educating individuals about, how this process has worked. And, I just think that it's interesting.
Well, but we do have to have a plan.
Yes, and it's a learning, but it's a
We
learning
do have
process
to
for
have a
everyone.
plan,
And we have to have a plan.
Plan your work and work your plan.
Yeah.
By the way, I would challenge fun and maybe replace it with frustrating.
So I was able to attend the Sherman Township open house this weekend and the candidate forum.
Right.
BLW. And once again reiterated that we appreciated their efforts during the tornado.
Mhm.
Sherman Township did a lot.
We were gonna have a post meeting, weren't we? Are we still gonna do that?
I think we're waiting on the Public Works.
We have that,
Oh,
well, we have it scheduled in November. We have a follow-up with the Emergency Management Director, so that is a work session in November.
Okay.
I don't remember the day in November, but it is scheduled in November.
And the idea of that is we go through, again, lessons learned, ways to improve. Not that it wasn't an amazing job, but there's always ways to.
Absolutely.
Absolutely.
That's, they conducted a couple of meetings internally, and I think down with the Township Fire District, and then compiled those notes, and that's what Chuck's going to come in.
Can we make sure that the township fire chief and some of those people are invited to that? Because I know they have some input they would like to directly give to us.
It's an open meeting.
Yeah.
Oh, and the rest of the commissioners agree that we should have a work session on what we want to present to our legislature?
I think so.
Okay.
Will that be in November?
Well, it could be November, December, anytime
Before
before
the
the
first of the
session.
year, right.
Yeah, anytime before they go into session.
We got room in the end of October, don't we?
First part of November works good.
Okay.
To get, just so
No
that we
hurry.
can get it all. Or, yeah, for the work thing, maybe late October.
All right, we're not gonna have any scheduled problems with veterans. Is that on?
What day is that on?
It's
Monday?
So it's on a Monday? Okay. We're gonna be out of town at a conference one of them weeks.
Oh, yeah, down in Wichita.
Yeah, the league, or
That-
the Association of Counties. They
It's
just sent
it's the second
yesterday-
week. It's
Isn't
like
it
the
the second week
14th,
of-
15th.
Yeah.
Oh, it is?
So we
So
need to
it-
obviously adjust our schedule because it is a Wednesday.
But also, that same week as Veterans Day?
Oh, I don't know. I don't think so.
Okay. Or is it following week?
It's following.
We
Okay.
have lots of weeks that we need to adjust our schedule for, because.
For holidays?
Yeah. Typically,
holidays coming up,
those
fall
are,
on
we
Wednesday.
can adjust, because we set our schedules, when we set our schedules, you just adjust them a week or two in
Okay.
advance. We don't have to take any action right now to adjust next month's
Okay.
schedules.
Okay.
All right.
Except unless it creates conflicts for y'all's schedule.
We could
I'm sure
adjust.
Becky will keep us lined out.
Yeah. So,
Veterans Day
anyway.
is the 11th, and then the conference is the 12th, 13th, and 14th, so Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday.
Wow.
So that whole week is
So we're gonna have to have a Friday meeting.
Friday meeting.
Well, how
Or
many people
Monday.
are gonna be going?
Everybody signed
Oh.
You're driving, Jeff.
I did.
We'll go,
up. I did.
we'll go ahead and have the meeting on Wednesday.
Okay.
Just got so excited.
It'll just be in Wichita, or is it it's not Wichita, is it Wichita? Yeah.
Well, I
We'll just
guess
have it
we
in
could get a-
Wichita,
a
you're all
room
gonna
and-
be there.
and everybody call in and,
Well,
Have it on
today's
speakerphone.
technology, we could.
Well, you're all gonna be in Wichita, so we can just rally up.
speakerphone
Yeah.
and live stream it.
Well, Monday's out, and you said we're going Tuesday? So it'd have to be a Friday meeting. Okay, well, we're planning ahead. Okay, anything else commissioners want to bring up? Okay, then I'll entertain a motion for the executive session.
Okay, I move that this board recess from open session and go into a closed executive session for the preliminary discussion on the acquisition of real property as justified by KSA 75-4319B6, and that this board resume open session in this meeting room at
10 minutes or 15? 11:15?
11:15, yeah, we always say that, a.m. Present in the executive session will be Commissioners Jeff Culbertson, Vicky KAAZ, Doug Smith, Chad Shemke, and Mike Stieben. Also present will be County Administrator Mark Lothry and, anyone else? County Councilor David Van Paris.
Got a
Second?
Have a motion and a second. Any further discussion? Voting?
Aye.
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 Aye. Let the record show we returned to regular session. Commissioner Stevens had to leave. No decisions were made, no action taken.
Motion to go back into regular session? You need that?
No, I just need a.
Motion to adjourn?
No, or motion, staff to proceed.
To proceed as discussed.
Motion to have staff proceed as discussed.
Second.
Got a motion and a second. Any further discussion? Voting?
Aye.
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 Motion to adjourn?
Anything else for this board? Then we're adjourned.